Hello and welcome back to the Creative Differences podcast. I am Dallas, and if you know me well, you know which movie is about to be responsible for a lot of my list today.
Hi, I'm Gabby, and I know what you're thinking. It's a surprise that I'm still here.
Oh my gosh. And, and I'm Demi, and I love actors. Welcome to another episode of the Creative Differences podcast, your
All right.
one-stop shop for movie reviews, Fancast Fridays, Throwback Thursdays, and a number of other pop culture related items. Today, we are continuing on with our yearly recap, and we are going to be discussing our favorite actors of 2021. Yep, that's
Yes,
what we're doing.
That's
that
it.
is the show is what we're doing. If you're wondering where Colin is, he has once again abandoned us. So get used to that. We're only about halfway through these, and he's gonna do it for all of them.
We're definitely halfway through. Oh, happy
This is like
happy
number
hump
4.
day.
Yeah.
This is
Number
number
3.
4 or number 3?
3.
This is number 3.
Yeah. So before we get into it, please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your homies, do everything because we really want the people that we're talking about to hear this episode.
Woo!
Because that's the best. Last year, a couple people actually listened to it, and it just made my day.
They did?
Taylor Mishak from
Yep.
Dave,
Yes.
she responded, and my heart melted.
Aw.
So yeah, hoping for that again.
All right, guys, we are going to tell you guys once again what the rules of the game are. What's going to happen is we're going to go round by round, number 10, number 9, number 8, and so on and so forth. If somebody has an actor that is on somebody else's list, the word skip will be called out, and we will wait until it's at its highest point on the top 10 list, and then we will discuss that person.
Yes, for example, let's say Gabby has Jared Leto at number 9, and Demi has him at number 6. Demi would say skip, and then we would wait until number 6 to talk about Jared Leto.
That's true.
So let's get into it. Honorable mentions. Let's go.
Yep, I got 5 of them. First of all, I just want to say this list might have been the most difficult for me.
It's one of the
Just-
more difficult ones for me, too.
Me too.
Everyone who's in the honorable mentions, I really wanted to talk about,
Yep.
and I am in agony over the fact that I can't. But anyway, honorable mentions are Daniel Kaluuya for Judas and the Black Messiah, Kate
Mm.
Siegel for Midnight Mass, R.J. Kyler for The Harder They Fall, Delroy Lindo for The Harder They Fall, and Bashir Salahuddin for Southside.
Gabby?
Okay, mine is really long, and I'm sorry about this. it's like 9 to 10 people long. So I'm gonna
That's a
rattle these
whole
names off really quick.
different list.
I know.
You made another episode.
I did. I couldn't.
Have some
I couldn't. I'm so
self-control.
sorry. Okay, I didn't have any. Okay, honorable mention: Hannah Waddingham, Jason Sudeikis, Paul Bettany, Tom Holland, Timothy Chalamet, Adam Driver, Andrew Garfield, Tommy Maguire, and Pete Davidson. And that's it.
I am very disappointed because I was hoping Hannah Waddingham would make it to your list so I could talk about her.
Someone else made it
That's fair.
from that show.
All right, Demi, who you got?
All right, dope. My honorable mentions are Kelly Marie Tran for Raya and the Last Dragon, Dominic Tipper for The Expanse Season 5, Emma Stone for Cruella, Daniela Melchior for The Suicide Squad, and Mimi Keene for Sex Education.
Nice. I love the variation. We're all so different.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's get into our top 10. Number 10, Dallas.
Who boy, I was so sure this person was going to be like top 5 or top 3 earlier in the year, and then more stuff came out. Number 10 is Benjamin Earl Turner for Blind Spotting.
Woo!
Aw,
He plays Earl on Blind Spotting,
yes.
and he's so good. Until about, let's say, 5 minutes ago, he was an honorable mention, and Daniel Kaluuya was number 10. I was in that weird, the dilemma I told you guys about in the chat, where I have people who really impressed me, then I have people who had a lot of fun watching.
Yeah.
Daniel Kaluuya was probably one of the most impressive performances of the year for me. But man, is that not a fun watch. Like, I can't say, oh yeah, it was really fun watching him play Fred Hampton. He was fantastic, but I actually enjoyed watching Benjamin Earl Turner in Blind Spotting because he was so funny, but also he impressed me because he also had the dramatic scenes. And he rapped while acting and doing like interpretive dance. This is a ridiculous level of talent and skill. And that last rap, I think it's called The Ballad of Earl in the last episode.
Yeah, that
When
final
the
episode,
cops are
man.
pulling him back, that whole scene, the song is dope. His acting is great. His flow is fantastic. Turns out he's actually a rapper. He does this. Like, some of his songs are in the credits. But man, when he was rapping, when the cops were pulling him back, I was like, oh, he's on the list. He has to be on the list. It's so good. He's so good. Everybody watch Blind Spotting. And I want to say that the fact that we do the TV show and movie episodes are kind of my saving grace for all the people I don't get to talk about.
Yeah.
because man, there are so many people in Blind Spotting I wish I could talk about. But I will when we get to that episode. But yeah, that's my number 10.
We
Shout
already
out
did that
Benjamin Earl.
episode because time is a construct.
Goodness gracious, I had it backwards. Yes, we did. You heard it. You guys heard me talk about them.
Yep.
Time is a construct. Gabby, who's your number 10?
My number 10 is probably going to get skipped, but it's Gemma Chan.
Skip.
All right, we got to skip.
Yeah, you gotta
actually,
skip.
before we get to Demi's, I do want to apologize to the entire cast of Blind Spotting because my mind went blank and I did not include you, but some of you would have been in my top 5. I'm so sorry.
That is a microaggression. It won't be Gabby's last.
Oh my gosh.
It won't be
Stay
my
tuned.
last.
Stay tuned for our most anticipated episode.
Most anticipated.
Jeez, guys.
Jesus. A lot of these were, yep, never mind. Let's go.
All right, guys. So my number 10 is Florence Pugh for her role as Yelena Belova in Black Widow and Disney Plus's Hawkeye.
Nice.
Yelena Belova, first off, is my second favorite Black Widow, obviously, in comic books, because she's like the second most prominent one in comic books. I have been a fan of this character since like 2015, 2014, possibly, when I first read Itsy Bitsy Spider. It's just a character that I've loved. And when I found out that they were making a Black Widow movie, Yelena was one of those people who I absolutely needed to be in it. And then when Florence Pugh was announced, and they didn't say she was playing Yelena, but from the description of the character, I was like, she's going to be Yelena. And then I saw her in Little Women, and I was like, oh, she's such a good actress. And
She's
then
fantastic.
I finally saw Fighting with My Family before I saw Black Widow.
Yeah.
And she was great in that. And then to finally see her in Black Widow. And Yelena is so, like, she's a little different than she is in the comic books. They had to change up her personality a little bit, but she's so lovable and she's so funny. Immediately, you just kind of adore her. She's so witty and so sarcastic. Florence Pugh does an excellent job with doing the sarcasm and the dry wit and all the funny stuff that comes with playing Yelena. But also she's really good at all the emotional things that come with it, because Yelena is a very tragic character in the same way that Natasha is, because she has been brainwashed for the entirety of her life. She's been human trafficked at a young age. She's been trained to be a murderer, a killer, and her moral compass is just a little bit different than a lot of other people's because of these things. She's not afraid to do things that most other people won't do. And I think that Florence Pugh balances that comedy along with that tragedy very, very well. Also, had to go on this list because she absolutely improvised the crap out of that hysterectomy scene. And I love that for her.
Oh my God. Holy crap.
She's super dope.
It's one of the best moments in the movie.
It is.
Yeah. Her range is spectacular. I'm not going to talk too much about what she's been doing on Hawkeye, but she did such a great job that once I saw her on that, I was like, I have to put her on the list, because she had those 2 different projects in 1 year playing the same character. And it was just nice to see her both times. I didn't realize I could miss a character that much in the span of like 5 months.
Right.
But I did.
Yeah, she's great. She's definitely my favorite part of Black Widow. And Florence is just so good at so many different things, including things that I have no desire to watch, like Midsummer and Little Women.
Look, she was fantastic in Little Women.
She is very good in Little Women. And I look forward to seeing her play Yelena furthermore in the MCU.
Demi, I have a question.
Yeah.
Did you say Little Women is the first thing that like brought her to your attention?
It's the first thing that I ever watched her in because she was playing Yelena.
Okay. Got it. I just love that we all have different, I guess, like jumping off points.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's Fighting with My Family. And then for you, it's Little Women. And for Gabby, I assume it's a picture of her thighs at some point.
That's a way to say it.
Excuse me. I mean, not wrong. I love her
Instagram
of course account. It's great.
It's on record. We know how you feel. Thank you, Demi, for bringing up Florence Pugh so we could get that callback.
Me too, because that was also one of the ones that I was like, brain fart. It's been a long year, you guys.
She's amazing. She did such a fantastic job playing my second favorite Black Widow. So had to give her props where they were due. Number 9, Dallas.
Oh, right. Gabby got skipped. Number 9 is Zazie Beetz for Invincible, 9 Days, and The Harder They Fall.
Woo!
Very nice.
Zazie was busy this year.
Yeah. We be fans of Zazie over here at the podcast.
Yes, we love her. She did voice acting. She did an indie Lemley style drama.
Yep.
And then she did a Western for Netflix.
Yep.
The range is impeccable.
Yep.
This year, she's going to be in that furry movie that Gabby and Colin are just going to enjoy so much. But
a
yeah,
lot.
I
we're
don't know
gonna
what you're talking
focus
about, Dallas.
lies, and we will find that out in a couple episodes. But reining it back to 2021, she played a great role in Invincible. That
I love her in Invincible, and I will not take any
she's great.
slander from the fandom. I've seen you guys, and I will not take it.
The fandom is divided on. I think her name is Amber.
Yes, it is Amber.
Yeah, and I see both sides of the argument. I definitely don't think that she should be insulted the way, like the character, not Zazie. Nobody's insulting Zazie because we'd have to fight them.
Yep.
But
It would catch these hands.
exactly. But yeah, she did a great job voice acting. In 9 days, she brings this. Did either of you end up seeing that movie?
No.
There's a lot of different perspectives. Like Winston Duke is the main guy, and he's kind of grown jaded and cynical and creepy eyes. What's his name?
Steve
Skarsgård. Bill.
Buscemi?
Bill
Oh,
Skarsgård.
that one.
Yeah, Pennywise. He kind of represents a perspective of basically he's a pessimist, and he's kind of pessimist that would call himself a realist. He's more pragmatic, and Zazie is so optimistic. It is just she's like a breath of fresh air, but to the point where it's almost like you don't have any pessimism in you at all. She's just so sweet and lovable, and I love her character and I loved her performance, and she has such a beautiful smile. I love it. Stagecoach Mary. That's the main reason she's on here.
Her
She
entrance,
killed it.
boy. Her
She
entrance.
killed it. The way she comes in singing. I'm still mad that song is not on the soundtrack. James Samuel, please do something with that because I know you made all the songs. Yeah, the way she walks in, the way she commands a room, her fight with Regina King toward the end, and her like triumphant scream afterward. Everything about Zazie. Like when she gets to, the bad guys, Trudy's bar, and the dude says, do you reside in this town? And she says, you don't have a gun, confident enough to ask where I reside. And he says, this gun says answer the question. And she pulls out this big ass shotgun and she says, well, this gun don't talk. She's so good. This will not be the last time I talk about The Harder They Fall. I promise you that. But yeah, that's my number 9.
Yeah, Zazie's amazing. Gabby, what's your number 9?
My number 9 is Oscar Isaac.
Of course it is.
He
Makes
had
sense.
to make the list. Is that for anybody else?
No.
Yes, no?
I
Okay,
don't,
cool.
I don't even know what he did. What did he do this
He
year?
did
Right?
Dune. He did Dune.
Oh, right. I forgot about Dune.
I was like, what did he do
I
this
was
year?
like, Dune.
I forgot about Dune. Yeah, there he is.
I did not forget about Dune. However, I did forget that he's in that movie for some reason.
Wow.
That's
you know
okay,
what?
He died.
I think that says a lot about how much he melts into the character of Duke Leto Atreides.
Exactly. But also, what a good dad.
Right?
Great dad.
Like, I already knew that he was going to die, but because I saw the 80s version, but I was still really heartbroken when he did. And I was low-key like, change it, make him not die. Like,
But also, it's like, you can't be that good of a dad in a movie and not die.
Exactly.
Like
the moment you're like, oh, he's good. He's a good dad.
You're all I need you to be. You're my son. It's like, oh, he's
There's
not
no
gonna make
way
it.
he's not gonna make it.
Listen,
he's not
Paul-
making it to the end of the movie.
Paul had a good mom and a good dad. One of them could not make it. One of them had to go.
Can't keep both of them.
Exactly. And then also because I saw one episode of Scenes from a Marriage, it was just such a wildly different character from his portrayal of the Duke. And I was just like, damn, this man is like trained and he's just really good at his job. Because seeing as I saw more than one of his performances this year, I just felt inclined to include him on the list.
Makes sense.
We'll see if he makes the list next year for 2022's Moon Knight.
What is it? What was the line
Oh
again?
God, here we go. I can't tell the difference.
I can't tell the difference between my waking life and dreams.
God, I wonder how many times we're gonna reference that.
every time. I'll bring him up just to hear.
But
the
also,
line.
he's gonna be in Across the Spider-Verse Part 1, so.
Oh, see,
That's true.
Yeah, he's gonna probably gonna get on Gabby's
I'll
list at some
probably
point.
see him.
It'll balance itself out.
Exactly.
I can't tell the difference.
I can't tell the difference.
Oscar, you were classically trained. Like, please,
Jesus
please
Christ.
fix it. Alrighty, so that's it. I'm
Great. My number 9 is Gemma Chan for her role as Namari in Raya and the Last Dragon and Cersei in Eternals.
Woo woo, let's talk about it. Woo.
This was my girl's year. I love Gemma Chan. I've been a fan of hers since Crazy Rich Asians, and then I saw Humans, and I was like, whoa, this woman is a fantastic actress, dear God. It caught me off guard. I don't think I found out that Gemma Chan was in Raya and the Last Dragon until like 2 weeks or a month before the movie came out or something like that.
Mm.
And then I was watching it and I couldn't. It's not even like she changes her voice so much. It's just that she puts on an American accent to play Namari. And
Yeah.
it's such a good American accent.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, I gotta find that quote.
Okay, listen, she broke my heart as Cersei in Eternals.
She's amazing in that.
I've also loved her since Crazy Rich Asians. Not as much as me, but she's still up there for me. And it's just, she brought such a motherly, sweet energy to Cersei. And you believed that, to me anyway, you believed that she loved humans as much as the movie was telling you she did. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
one of the things that I loved about Gemma, as Cersei's character particularly, is that Cersei's a very different type of superhero. She's not like a superhero who's like, yes, let's go, let's save the day. She has to make a lot of choices that are choices that she doesn't actually want to make. And she has to make a lot of sacrifices. And there's something very melancholic about not just that movie, but about what ends up happening with her character and what
Yeah.
happens in the end.
exactly.
She's so good in that movie. I was just so
And
happy.
she
And also,
carried it. She really did carry it.
those two characters are very different, Namari and Cersei. Because Cersei is so compassionate and kind-hearted and just super soft. And then you have Namari, who is not that at all.
No.
Nope.
She's
Ain't.
she will betray you. She is so good with a sword and is just ready for battle. And she's so good. She's so amazing. I love Namari. Namari's like tied for third as one of my favorite Disney princesses.
She's from Talon and she'll cut you.
She has giant
This
cats.
is true. And an undercut.
Yo, her hair's cool.
Is fire, my guy. I love that movie so much. And honestly, Gemma Chan was much higher up on my actors list just for Namari, but a lot of stuff has come out since then.
Yeah.
So Bowen Yang from Saturday Night Live, for those who don't know, he was doing an interview. It was like finish the statement or whatever. And it was like, why aren't people in Hollywood talking more about ... And he said the fact that Gemma Chan has a perfect American accent in Raya and the Last Dragon. I think
Right?
everyone should be freaking the fuck out about how you can't trace the Britishisms at all. I think she might be the only one who can do it. She might be the only British actor who can fake an American accent and no one can smell it. I remember when he said that quote, I found that quote and I was like, points are being made here because her American accent is ridiculously good. It took me until they released a video of her recording her lines for me to actually be able to place her voice with her face. Every time I would listen to Namari speak, I was like, I can't see Gemma behind this at all. And I was just like, I think that's the mark of how good of a job she's doing in this movie. She really just disappears into this character. And I felt the same way about Kelly Marie Tran as Raya. It's just that so many acting performances happened this year, guys. The range, man, to go from playing Namari, who is super hardened warrior, to Cersei, who is also kind of an ancient warrior, but she's more of a brain and is somebody who is super compassionate and soft and cares so much about humanity and has so much empathy for people. Even though I do love Namari because Namari is also super complicated in the way that she kind of feels like she carries guilt and the weight of the world on her shoulders and that she feels like nobody else understands her in a certain way.
Yeah.
Gemma just pulls off like these two very, very complex, complicated characters, and she does them so equally well. And I can't wait to see her do more. I want a Raya sequel, and I want an Eternal sequel. Let's get on that, Disney.
Both Disney.
They are both Disney.
So I take issue with the quote, like in a tiny way. Everything he said about Gemma Chan being great is accurate, and she definitely went full American accent, and I respect that. But that quote for me, when you say something like, I think she might be the only one, then you discount people like Daniel Kaluuya, who, if you saw him play Fred Hampton, there's not an ounce of British in that performance.
That's true.
We're all hyperbolic a lot.
I try not to be, and this is why.
I like that people are starting to point out, though, that the American accent isn't as easy as everybody says it is. Like, I
It's
like when
not.
people are like,
Nicole
like-
Kidman still can't quite get it all the time.
Yeah, them Harry Potter kids be struggling with it.
but everybody's just like, oh, it's so easy. And I'm like, but is it? Because I could hear that you're not American. And I feel like we get ragged on just because, our accent, like, even from us, like, we don't necessarily think it's the most, like, uppity or whatever.
Well, there are just
Or,
so
like-
many American accents anyway.
true.
That's true. So I'm just like, come on. It's just as hard as any other one.
We should
That's
move
all I'm
on to
saying.
number 8.
Number
Dallas.
8. Speaking of British people who do American accents well, my number 8 is Idris Elba for The
Yeah.
Suicide Squad and The Harder They Fall.
I don't know
Woo!
why I forgot that Idris Elba had movies out this year, even though I saw
Me
both
too.
of them.
Listen, it's been a long year.
And I have people from those movies on the list. So
That's really funny. Idris, man, he's been one of the best at this for a very long time, and he continues to do it. His dynamic in The Suicide Squad was so fantastic. I forget that he's really funny because The Suicide Squad is hilarious, obviously.
James Gunn.
James Gunn, man, he's that dude. But his dynamic with John Cena was so fantastic. Just the way that Idris can come from the most prestigious performances to the silliest comic book movie you can make and nail it completely and lead the movie.
I don't even know if I'd say it's the silliest one. I would just say it's quite ridiculous at times.
Yep.
I'm trying to think, like, I'm sure there are more sillier ones, but when I think of James Gunn, I just think silliest comic book movie you can make. But yeah, see, this is what happens when you're like hyperbolic. You might exclude something. Yeah, James Gunn is silly. And then on the other side of this coin, you have The Harder They Fall, and it is serious. There's not a silly thing about Idris in that movie. And you know, you have silly elements in that movie. Shout out to RJ Seiler. I'm sorry you didn't make the list. But
He's dope.
Rufus Buck is so scary, and he doesn't even really need to do much. Idris just has this look about him and this presence, like the way that he'll look at you, and then you think, oh no, this is not the man you want to talk mess about. Like, I still don't understand why that random dude, James, was talking all that mess, talking about, oh, Rufus Buck is a criminal. He's going to get himself thrown in jail again. I'm not paying nothing. It's like, you know he's in there. What is your plan?
He really was going off, though, for no reason.
Right, like you don't
Just
think
keep
he
your
might
mouth
hear
shut.
you? Just stop talking. The way Idris plays that scene, comes out, gives a speech, you're an enemy of progress, pulls out his gun, and James is like, no, we're gonna have a family. And he calmly just, what's your name? James. Pow! Like, Idris is that dude. And then he can ramp it up when he beats Dion Cole with a freaking gun. That was terrifying.
Y'all can't be talking mess about the most dangerous person in a room.
Right. His name is Rufus Buck. Like, that doesn't sound like a name of somebody you should mess with.
Listen, that's either it's the name of a person who you shouldn't mess with, or it's the name of a person like you absolutely should. You're either a nerd or you're dangerous. There is no in between for that name.
If you in the Old West, your name is Rufus Buck, I assume you got lots of bodies. You've been killing for decades.
Only because the last name is Buck. If his name was just Rufus, you'd be like,
No, if his name was like Rufus Anderson or something, it's very different.
Then yeah.
But
That man
not
is an
Buck.
accountant.
But yeah. And then obviously the last scene in The Harder They Fall, when he's giving his family history, like about his dad and the whole monologue. He's so good. Shout out to Idris. He killed it. And that's my number 8.
Gabby.
My number 8 is Zendaya.
Hey. Nice.
Should probably be on my list next year because Euphoria is coming back.
Zendaya almost made me cry.
Dude, Zendaya did make me cry. I watched Spider-Man again today. I cried. I cried more this time.
She did. I saw her wiping tears from her eyes.
I had like tears falling.
Disclaimer in case you've somehow listened to this episode but didn't listen to our favorite movies episode. We do spoilers in the recap.
We do.
Yeah, we do.
So if you haven't seen Spider-Man and you haven't listened to our favorite movies of the year episode, good luck.
What are you doing?
Skip to something.
First of all.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, I'm sorry.
But man, that scene toward the end, when she's saying, like, I don't want to do that, I don't want to forget, blah, 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 all that, I was like, oh no, they're trying to get me. It's like, Zendaya, no, we're not doing this right now.
When she's just looking at him and the single tear falls, I'm like, oh God.
Oh man.
I was like, she made the list. Okay. And also, she was great in the 7 minutes she's in Dune. Love that for me.
Oh, right. I keep forgetting about the people in Dune.
Okay, she's been busy this year. She had 4 movies come out. She had
did.
Malcolm and Marie, Space Jam, Dune, and now a Spider-Man.
You know what?
God.
While we're talking about Zendaya, yeah, Malcolm and Marie, she's great in that movie. She actually was on my actors list for a long time for that movie because even though I wasn't a fan of it, I was like, she's killing it. She has a scene in that movie with a knife. Oh my gosh. I was like, you're fantastic. You're incredible. This is like the best scene in the movie for me.
I have a question for each of you. Separate questions.
I've seen every movie Zendaya did this year. Holy crap.
Oh, look at you.
I've only
All
seen
4 of them.
half of them, but
I've seen 75% of them.
Cool.
So we all got different
so
scores
you
on
didn't
that.
see Malcolm and Marie.
I didn't see Malcolm and Marie. But my question for you, Demi, is
Yeah.
did you take her off your actors list because she made that Kraft macaroni and cheese?
It's not why I took her off the list.
Okay, I just wanted to
All I know is that she don't love that man. She do not love that man.
That's probably the moment where she got onto the list.
Because she don't love him. She made him that Kraft macaroni. She does not love
You
him.
listen, you have to be acting to really make that for somebody and to really play like you don't like somebody like that. That's a lot.
She hates
And
that man.
my next question is for Gabby.
Yes.
Did Zendaya make your list because you think Lola Bunny is sexy?
I did not see that movie, and I don't think Lola Bunny's sexy.
Oh, okay, hold on. This isn't one truth and a lie. You can't just start throwing out. You can't start throwing out falsehoods.
Listen, I don't know what you're talking about. Zendaya made this list because of Dune and Spider-Man.
Okay.
Fair.
Okay.
And I'm done.
Sure. Why not?
Yo.
Just lie to our
Dallas is
audience.
trying to trap me.
I'm not trying to trap you. I
I'm
just
done
want to have a
talking.
conversation. I just want to have
I'm
a nice,
done talking.
Dallas is
transparent
doing his
conversation.
thing.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I guess that means it's my turn because I think
It is
Gabby's
your
done.
turn.
My number 8 is a duo. It is Rachel Zegler and Ariana DeBose for West Side Story for playing Maria and Anita, respectively. Rachel Zegler had such an amazing breakout role this year. She was incredible in that movie. One of the best parts about that movie, which is really crazy to say because that movie, almost everything about it is nearly perfect. But she just brings a very genuine innocence and warmth, but also stubbornness and independence to Maria that I feel like wasn't there in the original movie. She's just so good. It's unbelievable. And she's a great singer. And I can't wait to see her do more. And then Ariana DeBose to take on such an endeavor as to play Anita, who is basically the fan favorite character of West Side Story, and be just as good as Rita Moreno was. And Rita Moreno won an Oscar for that role. Ariana DeBose gets on screen and she's the only thing that you want to look at. She is magnetic up on that screen. She's singing, she's dancing her heart out. Like, she is perfect in that movie. She has the emotional sexual assault scene that happens as well, and she's so good in that scene as well. And then that's not even the only project that she released this year. She was also in Apple TV Plus's Schmigadoon, which I talked about yesterday.
Yeah.
She played Emma Tate. And even though like her character's a supporting character, she still like stole the show whenever she was on screen. Basically, Ariana DeBose is a scene stealer. The first time I saw her on Schmigadoon, I think I had only seen her as the bullet in Hamilton. And that's not a role that has any lines. She's just part of the ensemble. To see her play Emma Tate, she has a really great musical number, and that's like the first really big thing that she does on the show. Just extraordinary out the gate. She brings just a high level of talent to every role that she does. And I think the same thing can be said about Rachel Zegler. Rachel Zegler just has one of those really rare debut performances that you're just like, oh, that's somebody to watch. So both of them, I feel like, were really deserving of a position on my actors list, which is why I put them together. They're just both so good. And also they had the duet, A Boy Like That, and I Have a Love that they did live. And just, they're just so good. Together, they are my number 8 because I couldn't bear to split them up.
That's fair.
Number 7.
I think I may get skipped. It's Jonathan Majors.
Yo, you want to hear something funny? Jonathan Majors is also my number 7.
Hey,
Yo!
Jonathan Majors. Yes.
Wavelength.
Love it. He's here
Same
for me
frame.
for Loki and The Harder They Fall.
Yes, he is here on as my number 7 for He Who Remains in Loki, as well as Nat Love. Which one is it?
It's both, actually. His name is Nat in the movie, but in real life, he went by both.
Oh, cool. Nat Love in The Harder
Also,
They Fall.
Deadwood Dick.
I'm not using that one.
It's a great name.
I'm sure it is. I don't know if I would use dead and dick within the same phrasing though.
Probably at that time it was fine.
Yeah, they didn't have euphemisms back then.
But Jonathan Majors, man, so he made my list immediately for that one episode of Loki.
He was fantastic. He acted circles around everybody.
Literally, Loki was a show that I was like, these are really interesting concepts. I'm enjoying these episodes, but I'm not enjoying it as much as I've been enjoying the other Disney Plus shows that have come out.
Same.
And then episode 6 happened. I was like, how y'all let him come on y'all show and just act circles around you like this?
Right, he came in there disrespecting people.
I was like, this is unacceptable. And then not just acting circles around people, they let him improvise jumping up on that table.
Yeah.
I was like, y'all let him do this? This is what y'all let him do? Jonathan Majors is a gift. That man is a gift.
It's so funny because I was watching that with Kayla. It was kind of late. She was kind of tired. Episode up to that point was fine. She fell asleep before he showed up. And I was not really falling asleep, but, kind of leaned out a little bit. And then when he pops up, I perked up like, whoa, what's going on here? And I watched it, I was like, "Oh, no, I wish you didn't fall asleep. This is the best part of the whole show."
I
He's
still haven't seen
fantastic.
that episode.
Oh, he's so good. He's
He's
so
great.
amazing. And it only makes me more excited for when he plays Kang the Conqueror because you know he's going to play it completely different from the way he's been playing He Who Remains.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
He's going to get to just play around with that character. And if we get different versions of Kang, he's just going to get to do different variations of what this character is like. That's crazy. And yes, I want to see Jonathan Majors do all the things with this one character.
Yeah.
He's great in listen, The Harder They Fall, y'all should never have let me find out that this man can sing. It is not no. No, this man is too attractive now. It's too much now.
It's too much.
It's too much. But he's also just he's just great as Nat Love.
He's so great. He's so great. He's so charming.
That accent.
His eyes are piercing. The way that it's funny, the one thing that Kayla always talks about being like one of the most romantic moments in cinema history is when he's, tied up and he's talking to Mary and he says, "Did they beat you bad?" And then, her silence speaks volumes, and then he just says, "I'm gonna kill them all." And it's just like, ooh, I feel it. But I want to talk about the bank robbery scene.
Oh man.
Because every bit of his charisma
So
shows
good.
in that scene. He's charming, he's funny. The way that he points the gun at the one dude who tries to stop them, he's like, "Hey, Blue Eyes, you scared. Your hand shaking, you'll miss. I won't." And then he's just like guiding them all through the robbery. It's like, they say robbing banks is hard work. That's a lie. Robbing banks is easy. The hard part is doing it without killing. And it's just
He's so
That Love is
good.
so dope.
He's so good in
he
that movie.
is
And like I'm really happy that he made my list. I don't think he made my list last year. Or if he did, he was lower down because I loved him in Lovecraft Country. And Journey made my list last year. I was just
right.
so happy that Jonathan was on Loki and that he impressed me so much that I was like, yes, immediately on the list. Like immediately was like halfway up the list as soon as I saw him in Loki.
It's funny because I said Nat Love is so dope when I meant to say Jonathan Majors. But that's interesting because I love The Harder They Fall so much that after it came out, I was finding every interview I could with James Samuel. And he talked about how he cast him. He hadn't seen him in anything when he picked him. He saw him doing an interview for The Last Black Man in San Francisco.
Which is a movie I still need to see.
Right, I haven't seen it either. And there was something about either the way he answered a question or his mannerism or something. And James said, "That's Nat Love." And then it turns out that he's an actual cowboy. Like he grew up with horses in Texas. So everything he does on a horse in that movie is really him.
Listen, Jonathan
This
Majors.
man is Nat Love.
Jonathan Majors is that dude, and I so cannot wait for him to continue to play Kang the Conqueror and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I cannot wait to see him in Creed 3. Like, it's gonna be fire.
It feels like he came out of nowhere. I'm sure he's been around for a long time because that's how these things work. But it just
I
feels
think the
like
last Black Man in San Francisco was his breakout role, and that was only like the year before Lovecraft Country came out.
okay, because it just feels like he came out of nowhere. Like he's everywhere now. But I love this for us, honestly.
I love when that happens. When someone really dope pops up in something and then they're everywhere. Like everyone in Atlanta after that season
Yeah.
came out, Zazie Beetz,
Everywhere.
Lakeith Stanfield, Brian Tyree Henry, they're all
Yeah.
everywhere now, and I love it.
Yeah, like it looks like he's been acting for a while, but the last Black Man in San Francisco was his breakout. And even then, that was a very small indie movie.
Right. That's a Lemley movie if I've ever seen one.
We played it at ArcLight, I remember, and not a lot of people came to see it.
I didn't even know we played that movie.
I want to see.
We
it.
did. I remember when it was out because I remember a lot of people. Well, not a lot of people, but I remember, a select few people going to go see it.
Yeah, and that's fair. ArcLight had its share of the artsy movies. They did
Yeah.
their thing there too. Rest in peace. But yeah, that's our number 7. Gabby, who's your number 7?
Okay, my number 7 is the cast of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Specifically, Stephanie Beatriz for that episode where she's high the whole time. That was
Oh my
amazing.
God, that's the best.
That was
I
so
love
great.
that so much. That's my favorite Rosa Diaz anything.
Yes. Andre Brower, because here's the thing. Before Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I know Brooklyn Nine-Nine's been on for 8 years, so this was the final season. This is my last time I really get to talk about this whole show. But specifically these actors. Andre Brower was a dramatic actor. Like,
Yeah.
nobody was like out here like, who's comedically hilarious, like Andre Brower. And he really he
Is he a
brought
stage actor?
I think so. And also, I mean, most of his stuff that he's like film and TV was
Okay.
like drama. I think he was on Law and Order.
Right, he
Like,
was in Law and Order doing something.
yeah, it was mostly like dramatic work that he did. And so the fact that not only was he on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but he would steal scenes and just be truly fully hilarious.
Yeah.
And I love that, he wasn't somebody young either. He was like in his 50s when he started.
Oh, wow.
So like, it's late-ish, I suppose, in his career that he like started doing this more comedic stuff. I love it because it just shows there's ebbs and flows to people's careers.
Yeah.
He's just fully hilarious as Captain Raymond Holt. Also, I want to talk about Melissa Fumero. She's my favorite.
She's playing
Amy
you.
Santiago's me. I am her. Oh, I love her so much, and she was so great this season. And lastly, Andy Samberg, who's like the lead, kind of. I mean, at the end, it was 100% much more of an ensemble at the end there, but he was a
Right.
little bit more of the lead at the beginning, and he really did. And I think he's like a producer on the show, one of their like leaders. He really like did the damn thing, carried the show, and I absolutely love the show. I talked about it already. The cast of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, all of them, but
Stephanie
specifically
Beatriz.
those four. But
Stephanie is so good. That laugh she does in that episode, I can't remember what happens, but she just it's like I loved it so much.
I love her. It's especially wild when you know that Stephanie Beatriz does not sound like that normally.
Not
like
at all.
she made up that laugh. She puts on that voice.
Yeah.
And I'm sure after 8 years it's much more natural. It's much more just like, yep, I can switch into it. But it's still
Mhm.
wild to me that that's not at all. She sounds like me. Like she sounds
Yeah, it's
like
wild.
she's from SoCal and like sunshiny. And like, I mean, that's why she does a lot of like children's voice roles. But
That makes
wild.
sense. She has that bubbly voice. And it's funny because recently Kayla and I did a rewatch of the whole show. Seeing Rosa in season 1 versus the later seasons, you can tell that she's still finding the voice because
Yeah,
it's
you can
kind of
hear it.
halfway through Rosa and her normal voice.
Yeah, you could hear it in the beginning.
Yeah. But man, she nailed it.
Yep. I love
All
that
right.
show.
Number
I love all
6,
them.
Dallas.
Number 6 is Tom Holland
Woo!
for Chaos Walking and Spider-Man No Way Home.
I never did
Oh my
see
God,
Chaos
I
Walking.
forgot about
No one did.
Chaos Walking.
Kayla and I saw it at a drive-in, and then everyone forgot about it. And then we watched it again at home. It's actually a really good movie. I enjoy it.
Oh, that's good.
Part of the reason he's on this list, aside from the fact that he kills it in No Way Home, is that he carries Chaos Walking. And it's a good cast. Daisy Ridley's in it. Mads Mikkelsen is in it. One of the Jonas Boys.
Nick Jonas.
Yeah, Nick. David Oyelowo is in
David
it.
David
Oyelowo.
Oyelowo.
Yeah, him. He's in it. Cynthia Erivo. I forgot how good this cast was.
Damn.
But yeah.
Why didn't anyone see this movie?
I don't know.
Because
It's
they
probably
kind of buried it.
Yeah,
and it
they
also
didn't-
came out during the pandemic.
Oh,
I think the only reason I knew about it is because I used to watch trailer compilations. And I say used to because I always do. And then at a certain point in the year, I get to a point where I'm like, I have too much stuff to watch and I need to finish it all before the year ends so we can do this. So I stopped watching them. But I was watching them and I saw the trailer for that and I thought that looks dope. Tom Holland, it's so, I don't want to say fun because the movie's kind of bleak, but I enjoy seeing him play an adult because he is an adult. He's in his mid-20s now.
yeah.
And seeing him play someone who's not anywhere near high school is like, oh, right, you're a grown man. But he still has this kind of innocence to him because he plays a character who has never seen a woman before. And then he sees Daisy Ridley. Part of the reason he's so good is because the premise is that men's thoughts are broadcast auditorily and kind of visually. There's like this aura around them and you can hear what they're thinking.
Oh my God.
So it's Tom Holland playing this dude who was raised in a world without women. And he sees Daisy Ridley, who is not only a woman, but is actually very pretty. And he's just taken away. He's like, oh my God, what was girl? It's just like, he's like, she's really pretty. And he's thinking all these things about her. And it's just, he kind of has that Peter Parker feel, but also in a much bleaker environment. But speaking of Peter Parker in a bleak environment, Spider-Man No Way Home, this boy,
He killed that.
he did the scene. I
Yes.
feel weird saying spoilers because we're recording this so soon after the movie came out. I know
Yeah.
it's coming out later.
It's safe. It's safe now.
I know.
Dallas.
I just have to defrost myself.
Mm.
Man, when he loses May,
I am so upset.
It hurt my soul.
the
I would
theater, I just heard
cry.
sniffles and tear wiping. I was thinking, is this going to be the movie that gets me? Freaking Spider-Man?
I can't wait for the movie that gets you.
Oh man, when a movie makes like a tear fall down my face, I'm gonna come in this podcast and it's gonna be insane. But I don't know what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna make a huge thing of it. But just the way he's talking to her Tom Holland is always the one in these movies making me feel emotional, whether he's dying or someone else is dying.
They always give
It's
him
those
the
eyes.
really emotional stuff to do. They give him the hardest emotional stuff. They're like, all right, and now you're under a pile of rubble and nobody's coming to help you.
Right.
Yeah, and then
Scream
he's
through your
like,
life.
"Come on, Spider-Man."
Well, now you're all alone and you don't know who to trust because Mysterio has broken your trust. You don't know what's an illusion. You don't know what's real. And you're feeling the stress that people want you to be the next Iron Man, but you don't think you can do it. And action.
Right.
Hell.
He's just the pain. He does it so well. And it's not just the sadness, the rage when he wants
Yes.
to kill
When
Goblin.
he is beating
I believe
goblins
that.
behind.
Yeah.
And in the back of my
Both
mind,
times.
I know they're not going to let Spider-Man murder Green Goblin. That's not a thing that's going to happen. But when I see him, I believe he don't know that. He wants to kill this man, and he will because
Yeah.
he is so about that life.
And
But
that's
on a
just such a good-
happier note, he does the comedy super well also. Every interaction between him, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire is my favorite thing in the world.
Oh my god.
The way they're
The
talking
three
to
of
each other.
them.
Like, you can shoot that out of your wrist? Like, no, we're not making fun of you. It's just like we can't do that, so we think it's cool.
Dude, when Andrew Garfield looks at them and goes, "I love you guys," and they're like, "We are not there,
They're like,
buddy."
thank you. Oh, I love it so much. But yeah,
Ugh.
Tom Holland's been killing it since he first came into the MCU 6 years ago at the time of this release.
Yep.
Man, he's so good, and he's always going to be good.
And
I
he's my
just-
favorite Peter Parker. He's my favorite
He's the best.
Spider-Man.
I just want
Yeah.
to give him a hug.
Like, I love every Peter Parker that we just mentioned, but Tom is my Spider-Man. He's so good. And this was definitely his best Spider-Man performance so far. I think it asked a lot of him for this
Oh, yeah,
particular
definitely.
one. Peter goes through a lot in this one. I'm very certain Sony is planning on the next Peter Parker trilogy. I'm sure it'll be great because these last three have been great. And Tom has done an amazing job with the role. And he did amazing in this previous movie and managed to never get outshined by anybody.
Which is wild considering there were two other Spider-Mans there.
And a Daredevil. So
And a Daredevil.
And isn't dead.
Yo, do you think they'll put Daredevil and Deadpool in Spider-Man? Do you think?
maybe one day.
I'm going to say what Hawkeye said. Don't give me hope.
Okay. Yeah, fair.
That's Dallas's number 6.
Yes, it is my number 6.
Gabby?
My number 6 is Barry Keoghan.
Of course it
Okay.
is.
That makes sense.
I could have put him in my top 5 because he was barely in Eternals.
He's
But-
only in like 2 scenes in The Green
I know.
Knight, but he's amazing.
I know. I've seen one of the scenes.
He came
And
in
I'm
for
like,
2
oh.
scenes and he made an impact. And
I'm like, I'm terrified. Am I
Yo.
gonna see the Green Knight?
he's a little terrifying in that movie, which is why rumors of him playing the Joker in the Batman, like, do I need to see Joker again? No.
But
If Barry Keoghan's playing him, I'm down for it.
also, this next here's my deal. Really quick, it's Barry Keoghan because he made an impression on me in the Eternals. Okay, he's the one I couldn't stop thinking about when I watched it, and now even my Instagram Explorer knows I love him. So that's why.
Yeah.
So I started checking out his filmography, and all of them were really intense dramas that I was like, this is gonna
Yep.
make me really sad and I can't watch it. But he also has done a ton of really small short films that are just like running around on YouTube. So I watched like 2 of them, and in both of them he was just playing like a sweet guy that was nice to women, and I was like, I could deal with this, but this is all I could watch. Based off of that, I was like, I like him. I want to see him in some more like palatable things for me.
One day.
But going off of what you were saying with the Joker, I was trying to see if I could watch Killing of a Sacred Deer, which he's in, and turns out I cannot. But just to explain the premise of his character really quick, his dad was like killed by Colin Firth's character by accident, and so then he has basically put a curse on the family that if Colin Farrell doesn't kill one of his family members, all of his family's going to slowly deteriorate and die.
Goodness gracious.
There's a scene where Nicole Kidman, who's Colin Farrell's wife, is like trying to get him to take the curse off basically, and he's just like eating spaghetti
Okay.
and telling her that he's not gonna take the curse off, and it's freaking terrifying. And it's just, and he has an American accent too. He's like an American kid just eating spaghetti, and it's fucking terrifying. I saw the scene from The Green Knight and it was terrifying too. And then they're over here trying to say like, yeah, we're gonna do another Joker, and I was like, do we need another Joker? And then they were like, it's Barry Keoghan, and I was like, maybe we're okay with
Now,
another
mind you
Joker.
guys, this is not confirmed. If it is actually true, we're not going to know until March when the movie actually comes out. If they even have him
That's
in the
true.
movie as the Joker.
That's true. I think they are, though, just because of the way he talked about it in an interview.
I will say this, that the fact that he does do intense roles like that and that he does come off so frightening and intimidating is a lot of the reason why his character works so well in Eternals, because going into it, I definitely thought Druig was going to be the one who would turn on everybody and who would end up
Yup.
being the bad guy. And
Me too.
because that's the anticipation, the expectation, because of Barry Keoghan's prior filmography and the things that he's
Mhm.
done, it really works. Later on, it's kind of impactful and impressive when he's just a good guy. He's just kind
Yeah.
of douchey.
Well, he wants control, and he did have. I mean, like literally, you walk up to him, and he's a cult leader, like, and his superpower is mind control, like over
But you like him.
humans. But at the end, I was like, yes, I fucking ship it. Like, I love him. And
Yeah, you like
Gabby
him.
likes
And
toxic
McCoy-
characters.
listen, I mean, you know my track record with relationships, so
Oh my gosh.
darkness. But I loved it. It was so good. Yes, Barry Keoghan. He couldn't make my top 5 because I was like, I have not seen enough of your work, sir. But he made top 6.
Also, I want to clarify something. When Gabby says her track record with relationships, I'm not part of the toxic half.
No, you're not. You're not, Dallas. Sorry, not you.
Dallas, you're a great guy.
Sorry.
I just want you to
I
know that.
momentarily forgot that we dated. I'm so sorry.
It happens. It's like Dune. We forget
It was
about
like
this
15 years ago. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I like that you said it's like Dune. Anyway,
Yeah, we're forgetting stuff.
my number 6 is Rosamund Pike for her role as Marla Grayson in I Care a Lot and Moraine Sedai in The Wheel of Time.
Forgot about
Peak Rosamund Pike is girl boss Rosamund Pike, and I'm not mad about it. I love I Care a Lot. I thought it was such a fantastic movie. I have a lot of fun watching Rosamund Pike play these really morally messed up people because she makes them so interesting and intriguing. And you want to understand why this person is the way they are. And I Care a Lot in particular was a movie where everybody's a bad guy. So it didn't matter. like I was going through the movie and I was like, I feel like I'm rooting for this person and I shouldn't be rooting for you. And then I would root for somebody else and be like, no, I can't root for you either. Like it doesn't matter. But the movie makes you want to root for these terrible, terrible people. But also the movie brought a lot of light and information towards conservatorship abuse.
Yup.
Which is great because her character is abusing the conservator system in order to benefit herself as well as her girlfriend, played by Asa Gonzalez. She was amazing in Gone Girl as a psychotic woman, and she's amazing in I Care a Lot, playing this character who is so morally messed up that you definitely shouldn't be rooting for her, but you start to for some weird reason. And then on the opposite spectrum, on the opposite end of things, her character Moraine Sedai, who is one of my favorite characters on the Wheel of Time so far, is so interesting. Actually, also kind of not morally gray. She's not morally gray, but her intentions and her motivations are always very cloudy, and you never quite know why she's doing the things she's doing. Because the Wheel of Time is a story about, like, it's a chosen one story. But the thing about the Wheel of Time is there are 5 characters who are all potentially the one, and you don't know which one of them is the one.
Ooh.
Rosamund Pike's character, she's also the producer of the show, but her character is the person who is searching and finding the one.
Oh.
Right.
I find her character so interesting because she's trying to determine which one of them is the one, and she will sort of manipulate things her way, and she withholds information and she gives information depending on how she thinks it will help her in the long run figure out which one of them is the one. And then on top of that, she's part of a society of magic users. I love that. It's super cool. Me and Colin talk about this show like every week that it airs, and it's so good. And I love her character. I think her character is like the most fascinating one on the show.
Nice.
And I think she's also the biggest named actor on this show as well. So that's also pretty cool. But yeah, Rosamund Pike, she's amazing. She's like one of my favorite actors. Whenever I see her name pop up somewhere, I'm like, I know she's going to do a great job at whatever she's doing. That's my number 6,
Nice.
Rosamund Pike. Top
Dope,
5,
dope, dope.
guys.
Yay.
Top 5.
Wow, we made it.
Top
Woo!
5, Dallas.
My number 5 is Damson Idris. Damson Idris is one of the reasons why I took issue with Bowen Yang quote. Because Damson Idris is a character. Sorry, he was in Outside the Wire on Netflix this year, and he's in Snowfall on FX.
Oh my
And
God, is he the one that him and Daniel Kaluuya had
Yes.
that moment?
Yes, he's best buds with Daniel Kaluuya. Their friendship is the funniest thing in the world.
That moment Why were they both so attractive? Like, I can't. The joy. Okay, continue, sir.
They're great. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about Outside the Wire first because I don't have a whole lot to say about it. The only reason I really watched it is because he's in it and he became one of my favorite actors this year. Also, Anthony Mackie's in it and he's dope too. But yeah, he was in it, gave a great performance. The movie is pretty good. Moving on. Snowfall, though. This is why he's on the list because I started watching Snowfall in January of 2021. Shout out to Brandon. I think he's the main one who put me on, but there might have been a couple other people as well. Brandon B put me on to some dope shows. He also put me on to Ted Lasso, but that was definitely a few different people.
Yeah, that was 3 of us. That was a joint effort.
That was a whole lot of people. So I decided to check it out. Also, it was made by John Singleton, the late great John Singleton. He's amazing.
And a
I wanted to
Pasadenian.
check it out. Yeah, with the PCC.
He's our country city man. I don't know. Never mind.
City man.
Ignore me.
So I watched it. There was a clip, and for those who have seen Snowfall, you know what I'm talking about. It's the clip where he's talking to Leon, and he says like, "I built this brick by brick." Yeah, I'm not gonna let you mess it up because you don't like the way another nigga talk. And the reason I didn't try to say it like he does is because there's no way I can because he's so good. But I mean, I can because I've seen it so much, but that's not the point. So I watched that clip and I thought, I don't know who this dude is, but he's great. He must be some random dude that they plucked off the streets of South Central. This man is English. He is extremely English. I remember seeing an interview, I think it was Jimmy Kimmel, and he's talking about his dialect coach. We're going to go to the side of the audience who knows hip hop. If you know who Dub C is, he's a very prominent West Coast rapper. Does a Crip Walk a lot, makes songs with Ice Cube. They picked him to be the dialect coach.
What?
Yes, because you need him to sound like he's from LA, and who better than Dub C?
That's fair.
And the way he tells this story is hilarious because he tells a story of him just calling Damson and he's like, "Yo, I'm outside." And he takes him to Popeyes. And Damson's never been to Popeyes. He's very scared.
Oh, yeah,
Dubsy's the scary man.
They just opened the first Popeyes in England like this week.
Yeah, and he had no idea what that was.
I just had Popeyes tonight. Crazy.
Yeah, you know. We love Popeyes.
We love Popeyes.
It's great. Yeah, finding out he was English made me even more impressed because he sounds so LA. Technically, I'm only really allowed to talk about his performance from season 4 because that's what came out this year. But seeing the whole thing, seeing the whole show, he became one of my favorite actors. The way he does this character that's kind of like a Rick Grimes, Heisenberg type of character who starts as the guy who does some things that maybe he shouldn't do, but is all for the greater good, blah, 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 blah. And then kind of just over the course of the show becomes a straight up villain. And watching him play both sides of that is just so impressive. Damson Idris outside of Snowfall is hilarious. There was a viral clip going around of him impersonating Denzel Washington.
What?
It was fantastic. Like he was looking in the mirror, like brushing his hair or whatever, and he's like, "Nobody got a lineup like me on television. Nobody."
Stop it.
He didn't make any guarantees, which disappointed me, but
damn it.
The video is fantastic.
And I'm gonna go find it. I gotta go find that.
Yeah, and then some lady on the red carpet or something asked Denzel Washington if he had seen it, and Denzel has never heard of Damson Idris in his life. So that was that's not the best ending to that. But they're like, have you seen the video of Damson Idris? And he was like, who? Damson, what are you saying? And he like kind of messed up his name, but Damson took it well. And then he went on Twitter and he said, "My name is Damson Address for the rest of my life. Don't call me anything else."
That's adorable.
Yeah, he's great. If you've seen the video that Gabby and I were talking about of him and Daniel Kaluuya, it's so great. The friendship, the brotherly love, the camaraderie, it's great. The comments on that video was just so many different kinds of thirst. Twitter is a terrifying place.
It's the kind of energy that I bring to the show, just under a video.
Right. It's the kind of it's the kind of energy that Gabby brings to Florence Pugh. But
not just Florence Pugh. Like, let's be honest.
Oh,
Henry
definitely
Cavill.
not.
So many.
So many
Oscar
people.
Isaac and now Barry Keoghan.
Right. Lola Bunny, Kovu.
Oh God.
But yeah.
Don't start with me, Tyler.
I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not, but you have a brand to maintain.
I do.
Yeah.
I have a brand.
Shout out Damson Idris. You're the best.
Him.
You're one of my favorite actors. Keep doing your thing. That's my number 5.
Gabby, you're number 5.
My number 5 is Jimmy O. Yang.
I like him.
For 2 reasons, one of them unrelated to acting.
Oh my gosh, this is the actors list, guys.
I know, but he's an actor, so I feel like I'm allowed. Okay. It's mostly for Love Hard, though. It's mostly for Love Hard. Okay. Jimmy O. Yang plays the love interest in a movie called Love Hard. It is on Netflix. It's so good. I love him so much.
And Harry Shum's in that movie too,
Harry
right?
Shum Jr., yeah. Okay, so basically, he catfishes Nina Dobrev's character. Like, he makes her think that he's this super hot dude, and then when she shows up to visit him on Christmas, it's not that guy, it's another guy. It's him, Jimmy O Yang, and he's like, "Well, girls wouldn't like me." And then she looks at his profile and she's like, "Well, this is why you look like a serial killer."
Ah,
Which I've had that conversation with a guy before. Where I'm like, well, of course no one's hitting you up. Who is this man? He looks like he'll kill me. I'm not gonna swipe right.
was it? Never mind. I'm not gonna make that joke. Continue.
Doesn't matter. And he's just so charming and so funny and so sweet in this movie. Obviously, he is. He's the main love interest. He's just amazing and sweet, and he has a great smile and a cutest dimple. I was just like, am I like in love with Jimmy O Yang right now? And then to top it all off, I was watching interviews of him promoting the movie. During the pandemic, he started putting up videos of him cooking on his YouTube channel. So it has transitioned from a YouTube channel where he would promote his stand-up to now it's just a cooking YouTube channel. And I
Well, that's
have
nice.
been really enjoying watching him. What I love about it is it went from just being him and his phone to it's like a full production now. Like, he hired a camera guy, he's got multiple
Oh, wow.
cameras. You can tell he's got an editor. They've even got sound. Like, he's got like it's like a full production now. He's amazing, and he's great at teaching people how to cook, and he's extremely sweet, hilarious. And so I've also love him because of his YouTube channel. I love to cook, and so just knowing that this actor that I find extremely charming also loves to cook and has a whole YouTube channel about it was also just like amazing. So yeah, my number 5 is Jimmy O Yang.
All right.
Dope. My number 5 is Kingsley Ben-Adir for One Night in Miami for playing Malcolm X.
Hey, he was on my list early
Yo.
in the year, so I'm glad that he's on yours.
Yeah, I had a hard time with that movie choosing which actor I wanted to choose because I didn't want to just do the entire ensemble because all of them are fantastic in this movie.
Yeah.
But I chose Kingsley Ben-Adir because I think I was most impressed by his performance as Malcolm X. We all are used to Denzel Washington's portrayal of Malcolm X, and I
Right.
liked that Kingsley Ben-Adir brought something else to a different aspect, a different part of Malcolm X's personality that we don't really get to see. We know Malcolm X as a very militant figure, very
Mhm.
serious type of guy, which makes sense because we know what he's well known for.
Right.
But it was nice to see a Malcolm X that, yeah, this was a guy who had friends. He could have fun, and he loved photography, and he had passions that were also outside of just social justice. And I think Kingsley did a great job with it. I thought he looked pretty spot on as Malcolm X.
Yeah.
Just
They
all
nailed it.
around a phenomenal performance from him. I can't wait to see what he does next because I have enjoyed him in roles previous to One Night in Miami, but they weren't like this. Like
Right.
in smaller roles, or he was in I think he was in a Christmas rom-com with Anna Kendrick.
Yes,
when
it was
Disney-
amazing.
Yeah, when Disney Plus first launched. So that's what I knew him from. But seeing him as Malcolm X, it just painted him in a whole different light as an actor. And he did do such a fantastic job. So that is why he's my number 5. I cannot wait to see him in Secret Invasion. I'm so excited that he's going to be in that show, that he's part of the MCU. It's going to be great. That's my number 5.
Also, there was something about when they get to the hotel room. Aldous Hodge, Eli Gorey,
Leslie
Sam Cooke.
Odom
I don't know
Jr.
why I said 2 actors and a character, but Jim Brown, Muhammad Ali, and Sam Cooke are talking about, we're at the party, have the ladies, with some drinks, blah, blah, blah. And he's just like, hey guys, I got some ice cream. It
Yeah.
was so adorable.
They go to find out what flavors he has, and he pulls out, he's like, vanilla,
And it's vanilla.
vanilla. And somebody goes, well, that's ironic, isn't it?
Right. Like Malcolm X just got vanilla ice cream. But just that scene, it's like, why are you making me feel like that's adorable about Malcolm X right now?
He does such a great job with Malcolm X as just being one of the guys and trying to fit in with this group of men that he's with, but also the social justice militant side of Malcolm X as well, because that does come out in this movie when he's sort of lecturing or getting into debates about the community and how you serve your community in this movie. So
Right.
he's great. Number 4, Dallas.
Number 4 is Ryan Reynolds for Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, Free Guy, and Red Notice.
So for Ryan Reynolds being Ryan Reynolds.
In 3 different flavors. I think this is the only person on my list who's in 3 movies. Yes, he is. I love Ryan Reynolds, and he gave me so much Ryan Reynolds this year. But also with Free Guy, it was a slightly different kind of Ryan Reynolds because Guy has this sweetness to him.
He has a naivete.
Yeah, especially toward the beginning of that movie because he's just an NPC having a great day listening to Fantasy by Mariah Carey.
I listen to that song so much now because that movie reminded me of its existence, and I love that song. It was like the first Mariah Carey song that I was ever in love with because of Rush
That makes
Hour.
sense. Oh, right. Man. But yeah, so it's funny to see that even in the Ryan Reynolds archetype that exists now, there's range to be found in that because Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, he's as vulgar and aggressive as he can be, but also a bit of a sad sack because Samuel Jackson and Salma Hayek have ruined his life. And then Red Notice, he's this other version of Ryan Reynolds, but like a slicker, more competent. Yeah.
Suave.
Right. And then he has to deal with Dwayne Johnson and Gal Gadot. So
It was amazing. Loved it.
just his ability to be the goofball in his jokes, but also the straight man in some of his reactions is fantastic to me. The way that he can always pull it off. Because in Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, as silly as Ryan Reynolds, always is, Salma Hayek is the most over the top part of that movie. Every line she says is ridiculous. And of course, Samuel Jackson brings the same kind of energy. So we have this movie with the three of them, and Ryan Reynolds has to be the straight man. And it's so great. And he's so exhausted, and I love him. There's not much else to be said about Ryan Reynolds. I probably have him on my list every year. I meant to do the thing where I'd say where people were last year if they were on my list, but last year, no, 2020. But, COVID jacked everything up. So
It's hard to remember those things sometimes.
exactly. I know he was on my list for 2019. But
I feel like I
that's
don't have
the
any
past.
repeats from last year anyway, so I think I'm fine.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I don't think I do, but oh well. Ryan Reynolds is dope, and you know that I love him already. So that's my number 4.
Gabby, what's your number 4?
My number 4.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Here we go.
Gabby.
It was bound to happen.
I just figured it would happen earlier.
Did I really?
Did
Do
you
not have a
skip
number
number
4?
4?
Did you skip 4 somehow?
No, I didn't. I thought I had 10, and it turns out I had 9.
How do you not know what numbers you
You had
have?
like 25 honorable mentions.
I know.
And you have a top 9.
You know what? Skip me. I don't.
Okay.
I'm such a mess.
So Gabby has messed up her list somehow.
This always happens
It does every year, at least
every
once.
year with someone, but it's usually
Usually
me.
you.
It's you. It's always you,
Yeah.
Yep, that
Never
sounds
happens
about
to
right.
me or to me.
without fail.
And Colin doesn't exist during this time of year.
Yeah. So
What
yeah,
happened?
I wish I
Anyway.
could
Oh,
tell
well.
you.
Go
To
ahead.
me, who's your
Go
number
ahead.
4?
My number 4 is Kristen Stewart for her role as Princess Diana in Spencer. She's incredible. I think it's great that I've got like 2 biographical figures back to back. Kristen Stewart, this is by far the greatest role that she has ever played. She disappears into playing the figure of Princess Diana. I don't want to say character, but like it, I guess it is kind of it is a character. I mean, obviously it's not actually Princess Diana, and I'm very certain whatever happened that weekend is not what is depicted in this film because there are ghosts in this movie. But like I'm sure that the emotions were probably authentic and real. I'm sure that those were probably things that Diana was actually feeling during that time of her life. And I think that Kristen Stewart very much captures the anxiety, the depression, the desire for independence, and the desperate need to find a way to get out of this situation. She is incredible. And obviously she's playing an English woman, so she had to put on Diana's accent, and it's a very specific accent, and she does that, but also her physicality, it changes to play this character. I've been watching Kristen Stewart movies since like 2004 or something like that. Whenever Catch That Kid came out, I'm very much aware of what Kristen Stewart's physicality is like outside of her roles. And in this movie, like you can't find Kristen Stewart in it. She's amazing, and I really hope that she gets the Oscar this year. I think that she deserves it. I think that this performance is definitely a worthy performance for the Oscar for Best Actress. I've been listening to people say that Kristen Stewart can't act for years now, and she very much can. And this is the proof in the pudding right here. She's just fantastic in this movie. So my number 4 is Kristen Stewart for Spencer.
Dope.
Top 3, guys. We have made it.
Top 3.
Dallas,
Woohoo.
what's your number 3?
We made it. All right, my number 3 is Jason Sudeikis for
Woo!
Ted Lasso and Hit Monkey, the surprise of the year for me. Ted Lasso is another show that I recently got hounded until I started watching by my friends who care about me. Thank you so much, all of you.
You're welcome.
Because
I
it's
speak
so
on
good.
behalf of all of them.
Yes, it's so good, and he's so funny. Part of the reason he's so high up on my list is because these two characters are so different. Jason Sudeikis, I've never seen him in a role like Ted Lasso before. Jason
know.
Sudeikis is the sarcastic, usually on the selfish side, probably the guy who, I don't really do relationships and blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking about me, horrible bosses, sleeping with other people.
You saw that?
I've seen that movie several times. I love that movie.
Oh my God, I didn't know.
Yeah. I know how much you like that movie, but it's great.
I know,
really
I
enjoy it.
adore that movie.
But yeah, Ted Lasso is none of that. He's just the most positive and
Kind.
happy and friendly man that's ever been in fiction, I think. Because
Yeah, because Mr. Rogers is a real person, so yes.
right. Like, Ted Lasso is positive to the point where it should be annoying.
Yeah.
For a lot of the characters in the show, it is annoying until it isn't, because it grows on you.
Yeah.
And it's what we needed in 2020
Yeah.
and 2021 and
Desperately.
probably going to need in 2022. It's just, and he plays it so well. He doesn't lose any of his comedic talent. He's just as funny as he is in his other roles, if not funnier, because the show is hilarious. The Midwestern small town charm that he brings to everything is just so great. I love Ted Lasso, and I love Jason Sudeikis.
I was like, where did he really get this accent from? He's from Kentucky. Like,
right, like he's
from there. That's just him.
Yeah, he's so good. I'm going to switch to Hit Monkey because you've definitely heard us talk about Ted Lasso in our TV shows episode.
1,000,000 times, yeah.
Hit Monkey is one that he's playing not only the opposite of his Ted Lasso character. Like, we talked about how Jason Sudeikis is usually the sarcastic, more on the selfish, rough around the edges kind of side. This is that taken to the 11th degree. He's a scumbag. He kills people for money. He's extremely selfish. He's vulgar, but he's so funny. And Jason Sudeikis, I know he's done voice acting because he does Angry Birds and such. I've never seen Angry Birds. So this might be the first thing I've seen Jason Sudeikis do voice acting in.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's not on my list. But he's really good at voice acting.
Okay.
Like, his emotions, there are emotional scenes in the show. Just, he's funny as he's ever been. It's just such a great display of his range to go from Ted Lasso earlier in the year to ending the year with Hit Monkey. And Jason Sudeikis is fantastic in animation and live action, playing a great guy, playing a scumbag, playing a coach, playing a killer. Jason Sudeikis got it.
Oh.
Yeah, he's that dude. So that's my number 3.
Gabby, number 3.
My number 3 is everybody's favorite stock model, Simu Liu. I wish I could talk about Kim's Convenience, but I can't because it really didn't come out this year. Just off the strength of Shang-Chi and how he carried that movie and what a breath of fresh air he's been. Like, how cool and how amazing he was in that movie and how sweet and like emotional and conflicted. And knowing that this is like the first big movie he's ever been in is just like, wow, boy, did he carry it, and he carried it well. So that's why Simu Liu's my top 3.
I loved Shang-Chi. He was great in Shang-Chi.
He was.
Super likable. Monger Zhang was almost on my honorable mentions list. I loved her so much in that movie too. The two of them together, they just had great debut performances into the MCU. I think that's just her debut performance in general.
In America, right?
I don't remember. But he's great in this movie. And he's very charming and very likable.
Yeah. Gosh. And he's been so great. Like, love it. Love him. I can't wait to see him in more things. I can't wait to see him in more MCU.
I was about to say, I can't wait for Shang-Chi just to come back.
Yes. So much fun. So amazing. He did so well.
Yeah, Shang-Chi's her first ever role.
Oh, really? Like, ever?
Yeah,
wow.
ever.
Okay. From films.
She's great. She's great too.
That was amazing.
But we're talking about Simu Liu, and he's great in this movie as well. He's dope.
So excited to see more. Can't wait to see him. I think he's going to be in a romantic comedy with
Philippa Sue.
Yeah, and I can't wait. Thank you, Simu, for doing that for me. And he didn't do it for me, but I love me some romantic comedies. Love it.
That's
love
her bag
for me. Yep, it is my bag. Yeah, he's my top 3. Just loved it. Love it.
Well, speaking of the MCU, my number 3 is Scarlett Johansson for her role as Ash in Sing 2, but mostly for Natasha Romanoff in Black Widow. Actually, she's on this list for Natasha Romanoff in Black Widow.
I say, did you see Sing too?
I might have by the
Okay.
time this comes out.
Yeah.
So-
I'm like,
Wait,
she
what?
did.
Yeah. Just to talk about Sing 2 real quick, I do love Ash the Porcupine. I love that character, and it gives me the opportunity to hear Scarlett Johansson sing, and that's always a plus for me. I love Scarlett Johansson's singing voice. But Black Widow's why she's on this list. My favorite superhero, and she's spent more than a decade on this character. I usually credit a lot of the consistency with this character, and even a lot of Natasha's characterization as well. I credit it to Scarlett Johansson and her acting ability and different choices that she's made and brought to this character. Because most, the writing team often changes. And I've talked before about how the writing isn't always consistent with Nat, but I feel like most of the consistency is due to Scarlett Johansson. I remember watching Iron Man 2, and I remember being in the theater, and me and a couple of my friends who I went to see it with were trying to establish which character each of us was from that movie. I wanted to be Natasha, obviously. And I think I claimed Natasha. The only thing is that Natasha, there's not much about Natasha in Iron Man 2. But I wanted to be so much like her. And here we are 11 years later, and I feel like on a personality level, I do kind of relate to Natasha. Because she is so much of an introvert. She only shows so much of herself. She's very particular about how she displays herself for the world to see. But she loves movies. And she's a super nerd who will quote said movies that she's watching. Me and her also have a very dry sense of humor, which I love about Natasha. That's one of my favorite things about her. And just there were so many things that I loved that Scarlett brought to this character, which is why she's been my favorite character in the MCU for the last 10 years. And she will continue probably to be my favorite character in the MCU in spite of the fact that the character's dead. I don't care. She's still my number one. Best Avenger. I take no arguments. I take absolutely no arguments. She's the best Avenger and the longest standing one as well. But yeah, Scarlett just brought so much to this character. And I've always said that the best thing about Scarlett's performance as Natasha is the little micro expressions that she does. There's a lot of subtle things that Scarlett does as this character because this is a character that is very internal. It's very different from what Florence Pugh is doing as Yelena, because Yelena wears her heart on her sleeve and says what she's thinking without any sort of hesitation. And Natasha is the opposite of that. She has such big sister syndrome, which I relate to. She doesn't do that type of thing. Everything is under the surface. One of the things I love about Scarlett's performance is that it's almost as if you can see the hamster wheel moving behind her eyes. You can constantly see that Natasha is thinking. Whether or not you know what she's thinking, it doesn't matter. You can see that she is, though. And that's always one of the more interesting things about her performance. Which is why her confrontation scene with Dreykov is probably my favorite scene in Black Widow, because it is everything that I've ever loved about that character in one scene and in one confrontation. It's Natasha being able to be duplicitous, and it's her being able to use her ability to lie to figure out what the next play is or how she's going to get what she needs or how to get the job done. The first time you watch it, you don't know that she's doing that. So the second time around, it's even better because now you can kind of analyze what she's doing and what her scheme is along the way.
It's like a callback to the Avengers.
Yeah, with Loki, with the
scene.
Loki scene. Yeah, exactly that, which is what I love about that scene. But also there's the Antonia moment where she finds out that Taskmaster is the little girl that she thought that she killed. And I love that because it's one of the few times that Natasha cracks. Her facade is broken. In that moment, she's actually feeling very guilty and she feels horrible about it. And then once Antonia leaves the room, she's able to pull herself back together again and be the Natasha that we're so used to. And that brought me back to the first Avengers movie after she's been terrified of the Hulk, smashing his way to chase her through small hallways and corridors and stuff. Immediately she is able to pull herself back together so that she can help. She does a similar thing in this movie. And Scarlett is just so good at switching between that really, really emotional moment that she's having and that break that she's in, and then immediately going into very serious spy mode. It's impeccable, the fact that she can do it that well. There's also a moment in her conflict with Dreykov where he goes in to pretend to hit her, I know Scarlett and Natasha both know that he's not actually going to hit her, but her reaction to it is so visceral and so real. Like the way that she flinches back, like her reaction time is also so incredible. It looks so real, as if she actually does believe he's going to hit her. Ugh, it's so good. It's one of my favorite moments in the movie, but also moments when he's punching the crap out of her and like she's just smiling up at him and calling him weak and laughing. Like those are moments of Natasha that I absolutely love, and Scarlett plays them so well. I love the ups and downs of that scene. I think that's like one of the best exhibitions of her as Natasha. And one last thing I want to say about her is I love the confrontation that she has with Antonia. I love the Taskmaster reveal because it's almost like Natasha going against herself.
Mm.
It is Natasha versus her past.
Right.
And this movie very much like Antonia it's her fighting a physical mirror of herself. And it's not only her confronting her past choices, but she's fighting who she could have become. This is what the
Okay.
Red Room wanted her to be. And by fighting Taskmaster, Natasha is fighting her worst enemy, which has always been herself. Scarlett Johansson does such a great job just embodying this character and like keeping everything below the surface, but also showing things when you need to know them. So like when she looks at Yelena like she's her entire world. And I
Right.
don't think there's anybody in this universe that Natasha has ever cared about more than Yelena. And it's because of the amount of love that Scarlett shows through in her eyes when she looks at Yelena. She doesn't show cracks in her exterior until her and Yelena start getting along again. And then she starts putting the walls back up again when they go to see Alexei or when they go to see Melina. Just it's all these really small things that Scarlett does that really make the character for me and her performance for me, which is why she's my number 3 for this. Also because I'm grateful for the 10 years that she gave me as Black Widow. I had to give her respect. Scarlett Johansson is my number 3, and she is always going to be my Black Widow as well, no matter what happens. Number 2,
That makes
guys.
sense. We did it. Number 2.
Woo!
My number 2 is Lakeith Stanfield for Judas and the Black Messiah, Yasuke, and The Harder They Fall.
I forgot all about
Damn.
Yasuke, and probably because I didn't finish it.
What's Yasuke?
It is an anime on Netflix
About the first
Yasuke.
Black Samurai.
Yes.
Although it's not
Very
historically accurate at all.
No,
'cause
it's
a
very
sci-fi
loosely
show.
based on it because there are robots and bear people, and it's a wild time.
Okay.
Lakeith is so impressive. I don't want to say he doesn't have to do a lot, but roll with me. He doesn't have to do a lot to be so impressive because most of the time when he plays characters, they are understated. They are low key, they are calm. Yasuke is the silent warrior type. Judas and the Black Messiah,
He's the Judas.
he's the Judas. He gives such a great performance. Man, that movie's so good, but I've only been able to watch it once because, I mean, like, you know what it's about. It's not a movie you can really keep
hard.
going back to. Bill O'Neill, that's the man he's playing. But he plays him in such a way that just hearing what this man did in real life, you can't have anything but contempt for him if you only hear the facts of he betrayed Fred Hampton, he betrayed the cause. And obviously this movie isn't saying, hey, have sympathy for this guy, or hey, he's not that bad. But watching his performance, he's not playing him like a villain. He's playing him like he's the protagonist of his own story, which he is. And you can see the confliction in all of his actions, and especially toward the end when he actually does what he does, you can see how much it gets to him. And man, Lakeith killed it. But the real reason he's on this list is for The Harder They Fall, because boy, Cherokee Bill, this man,
That's a piece of work right there.
Cherokee Bill, shout out to Lakeith's performance because he was, at one time, maybe my favorite character. And by the end, I hated him so much, but I never stopped being impressed with his performance. The train scene, when he first comes on, there's something about Cherokee Bill he stands out from the rest of everyone. It's the 1800s, and he speaks like a well-educated man from 2021. Walks in to this train full of white people and says, "Let it be known that I don't particularly enjoy violence. That being said, you are currently in the company of extremely violent individuals."
Damn.
Like every line he says hits, and it's the way he says it and the way he looks at people. He has this casualness to him, like when he's counting down and Trudy shoots that kid, and he's just like, "Damn, Trudy, you know I like my countdowns." Like that's so modern and contemporary. But when it's time to shoot somebody, he just has this dead look on his face. Like, he doesn't actually enjoy violence, but he's gonna do it. By the time we get to the end, I hate him so much. But it's just because he's so good. When he shoots Jim, there's something in the way that he says, no, sorry, rewind. Because even before that, when Jim first tries to get him to do a little shootout with him, Jim is trash talking as he does. And he just has a response to everything. It's like, oh, yeah, you're the one who shoots people in the back. He's like, no, I'm the Cherokee Bill who shoots men in the mouth who talk too much. And then Jim is like, it's all about who's fast and who's not. And he says, no, it's about who's alive and who's dead. And when you take that and then you look at his whole performance, it's like, oh, yeah, this guy's not really about that bound by honor. He kind of portrays himself to be on a pedestal a little bit. Like, I don't really enjoy violence, but he will shoot you in the back. He will shoot you at 3, counting down from 5. He will challenge you to a fight and then cut your knees up. Lakeith Stanfield is such a good actor, and he brings all of that to Cherokee Bill, even in the way that, like, his death scene and right before it when he's talking to Bill Pickett, and he says, like, you had a choice. Brother, why you got that look on your face? And it's like, because you shot me in the back, nigga. What do you think? He's so good. Yeah, he's part of the reason why The Harder They Fall is so dope and why there are so many actors from that freaking movie on my list. That's my number 2.
Gabby, what you got?
My number 2 is Elizabeth Olsen.
Ooh, Skip.
Hey.
Oh, Skip. Hey.
My number 2 is Jasmine Cephas Jones for Blind Spotting.
Nice. I'm so
Yeah.
glad we get to talk about her because I
Yeah.
wanted her to be on my list.
For me personally, Jasmine Cephas Jones gave the best performance on the show, possibly because she's also the main character. The show entirely revolves
Right.
around her. She's the one whose husband goes to jail. She's the one who has her life completely uprooted and moved to a place where she does not want to be, and she's put in a very uncomfortable situation. She's just so good. She has so much range because Ashley is going through so much. Her husband's in jail. She's having the hard time of trying to explain to her very young child that his father is in jail and dealing with her not quite in-law, but one day will be in-laws as she's living with them.
Shout out to Rainey. Love Rainey.
Also, shout out to Trish because I love Jalen Barron as well in this role.
She
She's
was
wild.
fantastic.
Trish
She's
is a wild child.
I love Trish. Trish is my girl. She has to carry the show to a degree, and I think she does it very well. Like the movie that it is spun off from, the TV show deals with a lot of different issues and a lot of different themes. It balances humor and drama so well. And this time around, because Jasmine was more of a secondary character in the movie, she didn't get as much to do. But in this TV show, she has everything to do. And she does it. And she carries her own so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's fantastic. Personally, I feel like I probably said enough in our TV shows episode because I love this show so much. But her performance is fantastic. When she's smashing up that room
Yeah.
and
I hate the
giving
rich.
that whole thing. Yeah, it's just, she killed it.
But also the episode where they're all like high on shrooms or whatever when they go to that beach.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Great performances out of everyone involved.
Yeah. Like Jasmine has to laugh. She has to cry. She has to do it all.
Yeah.
And she's believable through all of it. I believe Ashley Rose as a character.
Same.
But yeah, that's my number 2. Jasmine Cephas Jones. Out here killing it. I knew once I started watching the show, I was like, oh, Jasmine's going to make this list.
I'm so glad she's on your list.
So number 1, guys. Actually, we can't do our number 1s quite yet because I have Colin's list.
Oh my God, I forgot he existed.
All right, guys. So here is Colin's list. Number 10, Eli Gorey for One Night in Miami. Number 9, Omar Sy for Lupin. Number 8, Aaron Kellyman for The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Number 7, Christian Convery for Sweet Tooth. Number 6, Roman Griffin Davis for Silent Night. Oh, snap. He saw Silent Night? I want to see that. Number 5, Harvey Gillen for What We Do in the Shadows. Number 4, Dominique Tipper for The Expanse because she was amazing this season. She had one episode where she was acting on her own and it was incredible, which is why she's on my honorable mentions list. Number 3, Hamish Linklater for Midnight Mass.
Yeah, he killed it.
Number 2, Andrew Garfield for Tick, Tick, Boom. Very, very, very deserving. He's great in Tick, Tick, Boom. And number 1, Brennan Lee Mulligan, who is most well known for his web series shows on Dimension 20. He's very great. I love him on Misfits and Magic.
Word.
All right. So that leads us to our number 1s. Dallas, who you got?
My number 1 is the one, the only, the fantastic, the amazing, the queen of everything, Regina King.
I knew it.
Regina King for The Harder They Fall. Let me tell you something. She's the only person, aside from my number 10, the only person on this list who I only saw her in one thing, and that was enough to put her at the top of this list because Regina King is a straight up goddess. Treacherous Trudy, aka Ghastly Gertrude Smith. This movie, everything about this movie impresses me to no end. Most of all, the performances. And for one performance out of this batch, which many of them we talked about already, for one to stand out the way this one does, and she's not the main character, and she's not the primary antagonist either, but she still just puts on a show every time. The accent, the way she looks at people, the threats, the scene of her cutting that freaking apple. Everything about Regina King is amazing in this movie. From the first moment she steps on screen, shoots a dude for saying something like "neh," and she didn't even wait to see what he was gonna say. And then the next line she says, any of them even say something that starts with "N," they're gonna meet the same fate. And I was like, oh, you're my favorite character.
Even though she kind of bad though.
Oh yeah, she's straight up psychopath.
Is this the first bad person that Dallas is in love with ever?
Probably. Welcome to the dark side. We have t-shirts.
Hey Dallas.
I definitely want
What?
to. I definitely want to dive into that side of my brain. But
Oh,
yeah,
do you?
it's probably because Regina King is just so great. But also, yeah, I can't not love Regina King. But that speech, that monologue that she gives to Zazie Beetz when she's cutting that apple, which, fun fact, apparently she was practicing doing that so much, trying to cut it all in one go, that she was making a bunch of apple like turnovers and apple pies and everything because she kept trying to practice cutting an apple like that.
That's so wholesome.
I love it. Oh, everything about that scene. The way she tells the story, the way she looks up at Zazie for certain lines to hit. Somebody has slit a throat. Like everything about that. The casual way she goes and puts on her hat talking about hope must die. Zazie's getting choked to death behind her and she just says, but not yet. And she commands everything. And you can tell because anytime there's any question about like her status or anything like that, when one of my favorite scenes in Exchanges is when Nat comes in and says, I'm looking for your boss. And the way she looks at him and she says, my boss. It's like, oh, she tolerates no disrespect. Least of all from Stagecoach Mary, because as much as I love Zazie Beetz and Stagecoach Mary, what the hell was she doing? That plan was so bad. That's why she got, never mind. She's so good. When they're breaking Idris out on the train and she tells that dude, open it, and he's gonna hand her the key, the way she looks at him, the sass in that look, she just looks up at him. Like, I know you don't expect me to open this thing. Her subtleties and her performance, everything about it, I just love it. She brought the character to life.
And not only did she give a good performance this year, she also directed a great movie this year.
Yeah,
One Night
I
in
wasn't sure if I
Miami.
wanted to bring it up because technically it's not acting, but yeah, One Night in Miami is fantastic, and I'm pretty sure it's her directorial debut.
It was.
Yeah, so that's why I gave her the intro that I did. She's amazing. She's fantastic. She's the queen of everything. You know how dope you got to be for Amazon Prime to change their name to Regina King Stan account when
Y'all
your movie
remember
comes
that?
out?
Yeah.
Like,
It's amazing.
right, because she deserves it. She's so dope. She's one of my favorite parts of one of my favorite movies of the year. She's legitimately my favorite actress, so I'm glad that she was in this movie this year. That's my number one, because of course it is. Regina King, I hope you're listening. Please listen.
Gabby, what's your number one?
My number one is Brett Goldstein.
Yes!
Ted Lasso.
Roy Kent!
Yes, Roy Kent. Roy Kent.
Roy Kent.
He's here. He's there. He's every fucking where. Roy Kent.
I love it.
Roy Kent. Because he's Roy Kent. He's Roy fucking Kent, man. And also, okay, so I started listening to Brett Goldstein's podcast, and
Same.
it turns out he's an incredibly sweet, kind, wonderful, sweet man. I said sweet twice, but honestly, yes,
He's that sweet.
He is that sweet. You say it twice. And then you watch Ted Lasso, and he's this like hardened. He's still kind of a sweetheart, but like it's rough exterior. It's hard. It's rough. It's mean, and
Right.
and it's like, wow, you're such a good actor because like he's not that guy. Like he's not Roy Kent at all. Like he does curse, but he's ultimately just like this sweet cinnamon bun of a man.
Gabby,
Yes.
have you heard the second podcast episode he did with Brendan Hunt?
No, not
Coach
yet.
Beard? So they're recording in the same location because they're working on Ted Lasso.
Oh.
But he does all of his stuff through, I'll say Zencaster because branding, why not?
Yeah.
But on the computer.
Uh-huh.
So they're in rooms that are next to each other. And Brendan starts talking about his life, and he brings up something that's pretty sad.
Aw.
Obviously, you're listening, so you can't see what's going on.
Yeah.
But you just hear like the shuffling because Brett Goldstein gets up and walks to the other room to give him a hug, and then goes back to sit down on his computer and finish the interview.
Oh, that's the kind of man he is.
It's the
Like,
sweetest thing
he's
in the
just
world.
a
He's so
sweet,
great.
sweet, wonderful man.
But Roy Kent is also sweet. Like every scene he has
Yeah.
with his niece.
Oh,
And
but
as
he's never not himself though, which is what I
right,
also like.
like he's cussing around her all the time, even when he's
Yeah.
telling her, "Hey, you shouldn't be cursing in school," and she's like, "Well, will you stop cussing?" It's like, no,
Like, I don't have to. I'm a grown
right,
adult.
I'm an adult, and just his relationship with her is so pure and lovable, and I think part of it is because I have a niece who's 10 years old.
Relatable.
It's relatable. Like I'm me with her, but I'm a softer version of me with her.
Yeah.
But yeah, Roy's fantastic.
He's such a great character. Brett Goldstein did such a great job with him. And he's also a writer on the show. So like
Yeah.
multi-talented. He's hilarious. He's amazing. And I just found myself like really falling in love with like the whole deal. And I was like, he's my favorite dude of the year. He's my favorite actor of the year. I wish there was more Brett Goldstein content. I found 2 movies and I'm going to savor the hell out of them. One that he made himself, where he's
Oh,
a
nice.
superhero, and another romantic comedy that he was in. And I just want to see him cast in a million more things because I want more Brett Goldstein content. But he's my favorite.
He's great.
He's my
I'm so glad he's on your list.
Numero uno.
All right.
Yes.
My
To
number
me, finish us
one,
off.
finishing us off.
Yes.
My number one is Elizabeth Olsen for her role as Wanda Maximoff, aka Scarlet Witch in WandaVision.
Hey.
She's been on my list since
Yes.
January 2021 when the show first came on. I was so enamored with the show from the moment the first episode ended. I knew that I was going to be in love with the show because I love sitcoms, and I was so impressed with Elizabeth Olsen's performance because it wasn't just her having to play Wanda Maximoff. It was her having to style her performances off of very old sitcoms, and each decade she would have to change that style to fit
Yeah.
whatever decade they were in. And she
Mhm.
did it superbly, perfectly every time, whether it was the accent she was using, whether it was her mannerisms,
Yeah.
everything
The
was
comedic style.
yes, everything was pitch perfect from Elizabeth Olsen on that show. And then on top of that, sometimes she would have to immediately switch between being in that sitcom style of acting to acting in a way that fit more into the MCU and the character that she typically plays. The reality would start to break for her, and she would have to be just Wanda Maximoff in that moment. She was doing all these things so wonderfully. She was going through so many accents, going through so many different styles of acting. I felt like I didn't see anybody else this year do anything like that.
No.
And it's just so astounding that she was able to pull it off, and that it came out of an MCU project of all things on top of that. And it was just such a creative show, and it was a creative thing to do with the character. And her performance reminded me how much I loved Wanda Maximoff when she first appeared in the Avengers Age of Ultron. I loved that character so much. And then over the years, I kind of forgot how much I liked her in those movies because they really weren't doing much with Scarlet Witch. This show might as well have been a movie, but this show reignited my love for the character and Elizabeth Olsen's performance as said character. So that's why Elizabeth Olsen is my number one actor of the year. I just didn't see anything quite like her all year. Every time something else would come up, it was just like, you're really great. But Elizabeth Olsen was just doing something that I really loved. It brought me back to the days when I would watch I Love Lucy all the time as a kid.
Yeah.
Watching random old sitcoms on Nick at Night that, I didn't really know what they were, but I used to watch them a lot. It brought me back
Yes.
to that. And it also was a character that I had already loved.
Yeah.
She's got my number one spot, and she kept it all year, which is definitely, and that's an accomplishment.
She beat ScarJo.
Right.
How?
She did. She beat Scarlett Johansson as my favorite superhero because Elizabeth Olsen was doing her thing all
Ugh.
season on WandaVision.
And she broke my heart at the end.
Yep.
And oh God, and I was feeling it.
Yeah, her character went through so much grief.
So good.
It wasn't just the comedy of it. It was also the fact that Elizabeth Olsen could play that grief so well and ground it in a reality that we could all relate to, which she's amazing. She's awesome. And she looked good in her Scarlet Witch costume. So,
dude,
Fam.
that was amazing.
She looks so good in that costume. It was alarming.
That's the best Scarlet Witch costume we've gotten so far. But yeah, that's my number 1. That was Gabby's number 2. You guys want to give a recap real quick of our top 10?
See, I'm only going to do my top 10. Or my top 9.
Your top 9?
All right. I'm starting, yeah?
Yeah.
Mess. Go ahead.
Cool. So my honorable mentions are Daniel Kaluuya, Kate Siegel, RJ Kyler, Delroy Lindo, Bashir Salahuddin. And my top 10 are number 10, Benjamin Earl Turner, number 9, Zazie Beetz, number 8, Idris Elba, number 7, Jonathan Majors, number 6, Tom Holland, number 5, Damson Idris, number 4, Ryan Reynolds, number 3, Jason Sudeikis, number 2, Lakeith Stanfield, and number 1, our queen, Regina King.
Yes.
Gabby.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to bump up Hannah Waddingham so I can say 10. I'm not going to say my honorable mentions because it's a long ass list. My number 10 is Hannah Waddingham. Number 9 is Gemma Chan. Number 8 is Oscar Isaac. Number 7, Zendaya. Number 6, the cast of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Number 5, Barry Keoghan. 4, Jimmy O Yang. 3, Simu Liu. 2, Elizabeth Olsen. And number 1 was Brett Goldstein.
Dope.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Gabby, you don't know how upset I am with you.
I
that
am.
Now you have Hannah Waddingham on your list and we didn't get to talk about it.
Because I messed up. I'm so sorry.
But it's okay because I sang her praises in the TV show's episode.
Yeah.
It's fine.
We got to
Continue
talk
to me.
about her already.
Great. My honorable mentions are Kelly Marie Tran, Dominic Tipper, Emma Stone, Daniela Melchior, and Mimi Keene. My number 10 is Florence Pugh. My number 9 is Gemma Chan. My number 8 is a tie between Rachel Zegler and Ariana DeBose. My number 7 is Jonathan Majors. My number 6, Rosamund Pike. Number 5, Kingsley Ben-Adir. Number 4, Kristen Stewart. Number 3, Scarlett Johansson. Number 2, Jasmine Cephas-Jones. And number 1, Elizabeth Olsen. Thank you guys for joining us. Let us know in the comments below who your favorite actors and performances were for the year.
Yes. Thank you, as always, for listening to this whole long-ass podcast. Thank you, Crown Digital, Brandon, and Io for putting us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Demi, thank you for editing. Thank you for putting us on YouTube. Thank you for bringing up Florence Pugh so I could call back to the time that Gabby asked her to crush her with her thighs.
No problem.
Gabby, I want to thank you, but you just kept lying to our audience today. Talk about how you don't find Lola Bunny sexy. Like,
I don't know why you guys. I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, I cannot.
The lies don't stop. Anyway, audience, yeah, let us know what actors you love this year that we missed out on our list. Tell us who was dope. Yell at Gabby for messing up our list.
Yeah, please do. Please,
do all of this on the medias. Hit us on hit us on Twitter at y'all_different, Instagram and Tumblr at Creative Differences Podcast, or Facebook.com/Creative Differences PC. I know it sounds impossible, but I still have more to say about The Harder They Fall. So if you want to hear it, hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at a king named Simba.
Hello, my name's Gabby, and I'm a hot mess. If you want to berate me publicly about how I messed up my list, please hit me up on the Instagrams at Stegosaurus.
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Dreamy Films. Dreamy is spelled DREEMI. Thanks again for joining us. Tune in tomorrow. We will be discussing our favorite music artists of 2021.
Yeah. Also, if you want to find Colin, you can find him on Twitter at Judas and the Half Black Messiah.
Oh, we brought it back.
Every time.
Done it again.
We brought it back every
Please
time.
do that for every single one.
He's going to try.
Demi.
Yes.
Is it out of pocket to refer to Scarlet Witch as a magic Marvel MILF?
I don't feel like it's out of pocket. I feel like if that's how you feel, that's how you feel.
Got it. You know, I like alliteration.
It's not out of pocket.
It's a good alliteration.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
It's been different. Bye.
Bye.